Well, Alexandra, I hear there's a lot of disagreement going on about how to move forward with TikTok because a ban has its own set of complications. Could you talk about that?
Republicans and Democrats are not on the same page as each other about whether the best path forward is a ban. And also, Republicans disagree within the party, and Democrats disagree within their party about whether a ban is the best path forward. I think on the surface, the idea is that if there were a ban, the app would just go away in the U.S. If you peel back that layer, just if you peel that back just a little bit, what you actually see is that in other countries where the platform has been banned, such as India, data is still the data of people who were in that country who previously used the platform. It is still sitting with the company. It is still sitting in tools within the company. It is still accessible by employees at the company. And that is actually another story that we reported just around the time of the hearing back in March, that despite the ban in India, everything that was collected up until that point on Indian users is still sitting with the company. And it's not clear how long it's being retained for and why it's actually still being retained. So the big question is, if we actually ban the app here, what would happen to all of the data that already exists on Americans, that has already been gathered on the roughly 150 million Americans who are using it? There's also major free speech concerns about banning a platform here. There are a lot of people who are making the argument on both sides of the aisle that banning a platform here would be no different than a country like China banning social media platforms like Facebook or Twitter or any of the other mainstream sites that Americans are using so much in their everyday lives. Be no different than doing that with TikTok here would be sort of no different than China doing it there with American companies. And then the third piece of this is that there is undeniably a huge portion of the American population that relies on this platform for work. There's a lot of small businesses on the platform, a lot of people who feel like their livelihoods have completely changed because of the platform, because the platform, it enables like instant virality for so many people that could have spent a ton of money trying to advertise on platforms like Facebook for potentially months or years and never really saw the light of day with their businesses moving, it never really saw the light of day with those platforms moving the needle for their businesses, and now are very reliant on TikTok. So Democrats and Republicans disagree both between parties and then within their own parties about whether a ban is the best way forward.
I mean, you're absolutely right. TikTok is a way to go viral instantly. Have you tried on Instagram lately? It's pretty hard. But Montana, they have banned the app, am I right? They banned it, and now TikTok is suing them. Could you tell me about that?
Absolutely. So Montana is the first state to enact a statewide ban. There's concern that because Montana is doing this, that other states will do the same. However, there are tons of legal hurdles that TikTok is already mounting to challenge this. The free speech one is actually a very, probably the most obvious concern. But then there's a lot of technical questions about how you'd actually enforce a ban in Montana. Think about people who may, drive in and out of the state as part of their, part of their daily jobs, like as part of work. There's a lot of technical questions about how this would actually happen and how internet service providers and companies that host these apps, like how that would actually work. And so I think it remains to be seen whether Montana can in fact sort of be this beacon for all of these other states to follow. But it's looking right now like that is, these are only a couple of the many legal hurdles that any state trying to do this are likely to face.
And Alexandra, I did see in your reporting something called Project Texas. What is that?
Project Texas, on a very basic level, is a $1.5 billion project that TikTok has said it is moving ahead with, and has already, there's already work underway on this, to basically firewall off Americans' data from China. The idea is that all American data would be stored on servers that are outside China, that there would be strict access controls on that data. And the whole point behind Project Texas is really to kind of calm concerns from regulators and from lawmakers and from the American public that any data that is collected through the app could be, by or accessed by people who are based in China. Project Texas, I think, is something that a lot of lawmakers, especially at the hearing back in March, expressed a lot of a lot of criticism and skepticism about. There's one lawmaker who said Project Texas probably cannot work on a technical level the way that you as a company have claimed them work, because there are just too many backdoors. And I think some of the reporting that has come out since the hearing back in March has started to sort of show what those issues are and just what a major technical fee would be for the company to do this. One other thing that we've heard, a lot of the staffing for Texas has not yet been done, that they are ramping up, but that there are a lot of unfilled positions, around that effort. And so that's also something that we will continue to watch.
And finally, Alexandra, what's next with this whole investigation on TikTok? I mean, do I need to just go ahead and delete it? Is it done? What's next?
I think anything we see happening to the app will not be for many, many months, likely into next year. I think that a lot of the momentum, as with all news cycles, a lot of the momentum that you saw really hitting a boiling point around the time of the hearing back in March has dissipated. From what we understand, there is going to be more work later this summer that is that may sort of refocus on some of these issues. Also, something to watch overseas is that the European data watchdog that is overseeing 2 investigations into TikTok and its data handling practices for Europe. Those 2 investigations, which have been underway for a very long time, are coming to a close, or there may be an update about them later in the summer. So that's something that is worth watching, because whatever happens over there, where they do have a privacy law, could very much set a precedent or have some sort of a ripple effect in the U.S., which does not have a privacy law. And then the last thing I'll say is that there's no ban imminent, because there are these legal hurdles that any state or any lawmaker trying to impose a ban, like, they are going to face those hurdles, kind of indefinitely. But the other piece of this is that there's a major presidential election next year, and lawmakers are very, very aware that TikTok is a huge organizing tool. It is also it's very popular with the young voting bloc. That is going to be arguably the most important voting bloc for politicians in the 2024 election. And so, similar to what we have seen in past elections, I think you can expect a lot of hesitation about taking any very aggressive stance on this by any of the presidential candidates going into the next year, knowing that of the 150 million Americans who are using the platform, a large number of them are arguably the most important voters for the presidential candidates.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.